fight for something, and it's given me that fight to want to get out and do it. And I believe in this album that it sort of comes over more, you know.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the early days of Black Sabbath, I found, I swear, the wildest thing. I was shopping in an old record store.
Oh, no.
Excuse me one second. This album called, did you ever see this album before? Coven?
No.
This is a Chicago band. You never saw this before?
No.
This album came out in 1969, played at the Black Arts Festival up in Detroit, featuring a guitar player named...
That's not the same one.
No, Oz Osbourne. First track, first side...
Oh, my goodness me.
It's called Black Sabbath. And this band is one of the first that did, like, satanic masses, black masses on records. This has no connection?
Not at all.
Isn't that amazing? Well, here it is. Boy, did I think I was going to ace on this.
Did she spot something?
Well, however, you know, got to take these creative risks.
Oh, goodness.
Isn't that wild?
And that's from 69?
Yeah.
We were there first.
That's what they all say.
We were there 67, mate.
But under the name Earth.
Yeah, but with 68, then it went to Black Sabbath.
Oh, you're saved. This record came out in 69. Within about 20 minutes, we have Phil Collins, Take Me Home, more with Tony, and you have a special guest coming out in a little bit, so stay with us.
And Coven is still around, and they've had a really sort of controversial and interesting career, which we're going to get into today. So we have a special guest here, and it's actually a friend of mine, Jinx Dawson, who is a witch and a rock and roll legend from a band called Coven, whose first album came out in 1969 called Witchcraft Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls.
So it makes me wonder, getting back to the Black Sabbath thing here, I'm really interested in this. So you preceded Sabbath by quite a few years, and you even had, what was the first song on Witchcraft was Black Sabbath. So how did you feel when all of a sudden, like, this band, like, you know, 3 or 4 years later comes out with an album called Black Sabbath, and they were a blues band, now they adopted the name Black Sabbath, and their lead singer's named Ozzy Osbourne?
Well, at the time, we didn't really think very much of it. Bands were copying other bands at the time, and we thought we were doing rather well, and we were getting, you know, certain accolades and getting really nice shows. So we didn't really think that much of it. But then when we actually saw that there was another Ozzy Osbourne and, like you said, Black Sabbath, excuse me, and then actually the first song they recorded was a Crow song, which was on our publishing company, and they were on Philips, which was a subsidiary of Mercury. So what basically happened was when we split with Mercury in the winter of 1969, they wanted another occult group, so they actually went out looking for one. And from what I understand, I know that the band tells a different story, but from what I was always told was that they put that band together, they were called Earth or something like that before, and they made them change the name to Black Sabbath. So that's what I heard. So we weren't really upset about it until we got to Los Angeles, and we played a show with them at the Whiskey, and there was a little bit of a showdown about it because they were English, and it seemed like Americans thought English bands were a little more exciting than American bands. So we played one show, and we wouldn't finish the week out with them at all. We were not real thrilled about the situation, but hey, you know, that's the business, and people copy here and there, and you know, what can you do about it? Not much.
What do they say? Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery.
Well, I have said that before, but, you know, it would be nice if once in a while these older groups would say, yeah, we did know them, we did play with them, and, yeah, we did rip them off for that.
or at least regard you guys as their primary influence.
Exactly,
you know,
because all the new bands,
Jesus.
you know, give us props, and they're very nice and very courteous about it, but the old bands just won't give it up, but that's okay. You know, I think everybody really knows where the sign of the horns came from.
I think a lot of that shit like that happened back then, though, because you had like guys like Malcolm McLaren that would come out here and see the New York Dolls and the Ramones, and then come back and be like, "Oh, we got to make a band like the Sex Pistols or something."
Exactly. There was a lot of copying because it was new. It was all new, so people were like looking at things, trying to put things together. You know, but it's so funny how most of the musicians did really tell us, our musician friends, oh, don't do that, that'll mess you up and everything. And then now all of a sudden, this heavy metal occult genres, hundreds of genres, it's crazy how it exploded.
Yeah, like what do you think of acts like Slayer? Like those like really like heavy satanic bands like Slayer or Bathory or Merciful Fate? Like from those bands that came out like in the 80s, but I mean they like, you know, they had like blood on stage and pentagrams on their albums. Like, I mean, you guys influenced that.
It's amusing. To me, I mean, they're doing it more like a shock rock, like a horror film. I don't think that was our intention ever to really be like that. It was supposed to be a studious work, and it was coming from a place where I grew up like that. I mean, I grew up in the left-hand path, and I don't really think any of these other people that are in these kind of bands have ever grown up in the left-hand path or had Satanist parents or anything, have they? I mean, maybe I missed it, but...
No, I think Tom Araya actually is Christian. I don't think any of those guys are Satanists.
I don't think so either. And I mean, it's funny too, like look at Black Sabbath, they were right side up cross. I heard Ozzy's a Christian, something of the England Church of England or something, and to me that just isn't really the true situation. You know what I mean? It's like they really didn't know what they were doing. That's okay. They sold some records.
Yeah, they wanted to sell some records. It sounds like.
You know, people like them, and that's okay. That's great.